Oh, hello, and welcome to Dente, Rigamortis. I'm Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey, E stands for evil.
And we're here to discuss those internet stories, most creepy and most pasta, and be critically silly doing it. Tonight we have Bone Juice. So, Bone Juice is by the Lolliot 10. You can check it out at his website, the Lolliot 10's Story Corner. We'll have a description, or we'll have a link in the description below. So, we'll just kind of get into the rundown of this one. There's a kind of old, large, divorced security guard named Greg Davis. Pulls into one of those like stop and go convenience stores or gas station convenience stores, and is trying to find something healthier than the regular soda he has. Mm-hmm. And he remembers his ex-wife having Arizona tea. Mm-hmm. So he decides to go for that, and finds one that finds the can, the colory like kind of artsy can of it, and just picks it up, grabs some chocolate bars on the way out. Mm-hmm. It's very unpleasant to the nice cashier, and then goes into his car and takes a sip, and then realizes that he's not drinking Arizona tea. He's drinking something called Bone Juice. Mm-hmm. And it's got this like artsy cartoon character of a skeleton with a top hat on the side. But it tastes good, so he decides to try it, or just like keep drinking it. Mm-hmm. And he starts driving to work, and he's just like, maybe I shouldn't just go. Maybe I should just leave, like just drive away, like drive the other way. I don't really I do need this money, but like I just want to go home and sit down. And then that's when the car smashes into him from the parallel or perpendicular lane.
Yeah, the UPS truck.
The UPS truck. And there's a crash, and then he wakes up in the hospital with some cuts and bruising and such, but he didn't break any bones. Like, the doctors are kind of stumped. It's like, it's a miracle that you got out of that car accident as well as you did. I still need to run some tests, because, again, it's a miracle you survived. Mm-hmm. And after, like, a couple of days, he's released with, again, minor cuts and bruising. And so he's, like, trying to figure out what he did that allowed him to survive that. And the only thing that changed was Bone Juice. Mm-hmm. And that's when he gets a call when he gets home, mm-hmm. From the UPS, our UPS representative, basically giving him like a large sum of money for as like hush money, or like basically just settlement money.
Yeah, $200,000.
Yeah, and that's when the greed kicks in, mm-hmm. Where he starts like, it's like, oh, I could do all kind. I could basically just. I could just keep getting into accidents if I'm going to be okay from it. Is this Bone Juice is as good as it? Is this Bone Juice is the miracle drink? So like, cut to like a week later, he's like been
no.
Oh, what? Isn't it a week later?
No. It's like it all happens within like 3 days.
Okay, yeah, a couple of days later from that.
No.
Yeah, no, it's
not even. No. It basically, the accident happens on the Friday. It's the Saturday that he's home and gets the juice, and then by Sunday.
You sure?
Yeah.
All right.
I'm pretty sure.
Okay, all of that was on Friday. And he'd been drinking. Okay, yeah, 3 cases.
Yeah, over the course of a day, basically, he was drinking 3 cases.
Yeah, okay, you're right, yeah. Yeah, it's been like basically a weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, he drinks 3 cases of bone juice that he picked up from like a Target or a Walmart. Yeah, he picked up from Walmart. He didn't pick up. He got friggin' dropped the dishes, basically, to pick them up for him. And yeah, he starts like kind of like fantasizing about like how much money he's gonna make by doing this, and then he'll be able to just go off to like a tropical island, and then his heart stop, or his air passages stop working properly.
Yeah, he starts having trouble breathing.
Yeah. It just won't work. And he, fumbles for his phone to call 911. The operator hears hospital, and then then you just hear a slump as he falls over. And then we cut to when they bring him in, and he died. Mm-hmm. And he's in the morgue, and the mortician and her assistant are reviewing the body for autopsy, and they cut him open, and his entire rib cage is solid. Mm-hmm. The gaps in the rib cage are just bone, new bone tissue, and it's just what the fuck? And then apparently this isn't the first case that it's happened in this month. Mm-hmm. And it's because of bone juice. Because if you drink too much of it, it basically overgrows bone tissue.
Well, I got the impression that it turned his tissue into bone, so his lungs became
bone. I didn't get that. I thought that basically just his all the cartilage, all the soft tissues of your skeleton basically just turned into actual bone tissue, and then it started growing or basically just applying more and more bone tissue to it.
Well,
but that's also pretty bad.
Yeah, I got that his internal organs
became
bone, which is why his lungs stopped working because they solidified.
Oh God, yeah, that's even worse. I thought it was just that. Basically, they were there was no room to move, because your diaphragm can move and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So he couldn't breathe because all the organs were just squeezed into this container of marrow. Or bone and ivory, basically. He died from that. Yeah. Regardless of which way you interpret that. And it's because of the bone juice. Because if you drink too much of it, it calcifies your flesh into bone. Mm-hmm. And so the story basically kind of ends up there with a little zinger where the mortician has a little bit of a gallows humor and just mock hands the can to her assistant. It's do you care for a drink? And that's kind of the end of the story. It's yep.
Just gotta read the instructions and the dosage.
All things in moderation.
Yeah. Don't drink 3 cases in a day.
Really, for anything. Yeah. Even water is kind of you can die from over drinking water. So mm-hmm. Just don't do it.
Yeah.
Just don't overdrink, people. Anything, not even just alcohol, but you're asking for a bad time when you overdrink.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll go on to everyone expects the Grammar Inquisitions at this point. Starting off with, it smelt like any other can of cold green tea he had smelt in life. So the older security guard took a quick sip as he started up his old Aerostar. So it's supposed to be smelt in his life. Mm-hmm. The next one I have. For that split second, he pictured himself on his couch, drinking Coors from a mug that kept chilled in the freezer, watching The Price is Right while wasting the day away. So it's supposed to be drinking Coors from a mug he kept chilled. And then the next one. He had been brought in by ambulance Thursday from a car accident and died at 1:32 on Monday, the 13th, due to asphyxiation. So, when I first read that, I was like, what's a 132? Is that a code? And then I realized it was 1:30 at 1:32.
Yeah.
And that's my grammar questions. Just the 3 of them so far that I was able to catch.
Yep. And you've got mine, and there was a front because, but it was dialogue, so it got a free pass. So, yeah.
Yep. All right, is that it?
Yep.
Cool. All right, on to the meat and potatoes of our show, the actual thoughts. Mm-hmm. Greg Davis slammed on the brakes as he pulled into the parking spot outside the stop and go. The rattle of his old Ford Aerostar coming to a slow stop as he turned the minivan over. named protagonist across the board even. Like, all the characters that are necessary, that like, you want a name for, get a proper name in this story. So, kudos to you, Laliet. Yeah, yay, named narrators, or named characters in the story, because we don't often get them.
Yeah.
And then my next one. The rep then said a number that made the old security guard fall back on his leather couch in amazement. $200,000 as a settlement for damages. All of that was Friday, and he had been drinking the 3 cases of the bittersweet liquid since then. It was only a few days till he had to go back to work, but the old man had other ideas. If UPS was willing to pay out $200, how much would FedEx pay? Or Swift? Or any other company that would have a driver run down a poor retired man? I was trying to figure out, till right now, like reading this part in the story, in my note, when I was taking the note down, when the horror/doom was going to start. I feel like this right now, like when you read this at this point in the story, when you read that, that's when it starts, and it's only going to end in tears. And then I had an update after I finished after I got to like reading the story, and yet the exact means of doom and dread in this story isn't what you'd would expect. At least for me, I figured it was the bone juice. It was that the bone juice didn't work, and that it was just his survival was a fluke. Yeah. So the next time he goes out and tries, does it, just gets killed. But the presented outcome, that bone juice actually adds or changes the body to add more bones, or more like bone tissue, and kills the individual that way, if overconsumed, is not only a creative twist to me, but also filled me with a kind of creeping dread of body horror that I only really get when we do body horror stuff. And I was like, ugh, that, like, when they reveal in the autopsy of him, like, when they open up his rib cage and it's just like all bone and some of that, I was like, oh fuck. Like, I actually got a chill reading that part, because it felt kind of like not real, but I was like, oh, like that would fucking suck. But it's like that kind of like chill or kind of creepiness that you get from like body horror. Or especially like body horror that's like self-inflicted body horror. So, yeah, I like the creepy revelation in the story. Sorry, what a revelation! Dr. Maryville looked at her young assistant, who was struggling to pick up his notebook while staring at the spectacle before him. This is the 3rd one this month. Okay, I was kind of wondering about a paragraph earlier, why it seemed that the mortician wasn't at all phased by what was going on, and then like it reveals that like, oh, this is not the first case of this bone conversion that's been going on. And then basically the final paragraph of the story, the sad part is, Maryville's voice was flat as she turned toward the corpse on her table. The stuff is harmless if you go by the serving suggestions. The doctor then replaced the flesh onto Gregory Davis's chest and pulled off her gloves. The 40-something old lady then turned to her assistant and gave him a joking smile. Need a drink, Jones? This has a very Twilight Zone, Outer Limits style of horror to it, like kind of like the sort of like moral tale of terror. Like, and I know the moral is obviously, well, first off, don't be a greedy bastard, but also all things in moderation. Like, the bone juice was a good thing until you went too far. And then you get your comeuppance. Now, that said, my appreciation for the story aside, a thought does occur to me, for speculation's sake, and humoring silly thoughts. I know that's kind of weird for our show. If people in authority are aware of this drink and its properties, like not even the police, like the USDA or food inspectors.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it being allowed to be consumed unregulated? Like, say, at a convenience store or a Walmart or Target on their shelves.
Yeah.
Like, it seems like the kind of thing that you'd see at the pharmacy department, like in like a regulated like health food store, not being sold. Like, wow. I could understand if it was I could maybe see if it was a shipping issue, like the convenience store just happened to get the product and like a package of the product.
Well, they probably treat it like Red Bull. Like
that's or like energy drinks. I guess,
yeah. Like you don't drink 3 cases of energy drinks.
Yeah, that's going to cause a heart attack or worse.
Yeah. So,
actually, funny story about that. We went to this was a couple of years ago. We were like in college and we were dumb kids. We were doing a link-up game at a buddy's place, and we went to the local not liquidation center. It was local. Basically, the warehouse store that stores and restaurants get their like supplies from, because it's cheaper there. You can get it in bulk. And one of my buddies bought a huge case of the hell was it? I think it was called Red Rain. And then we also bought this other one called Kick-Ass or Whoop-Ass, which was like another case of Whoop-Ass, which is like it's not really it's an energy drink, but it didn't really say that it was like it had any of the stuff that normal energy drinks had. Like it just was made of like a certain seed extract. Mm-hmm. So we brought those cases over to the place, and like we all had like 1 or 2 ones, except for my one buddy who was like really tired, so he like just kept downing can after can. And then he had a single can of Red Rain, and he passed out. Like, he crashed hard. I think he drank probably about like 6 or 7 cans of Whoop-Ass, and then the Red Rain is what did him in. Yeah. You don't drink. He was fine. Also, for full disclosure, he was fine afterward, but he never touched Whoop-Ass again. Or Red Rain. So it's just like, all things in moderation, guys. Like, that's the moral of the story here. Mm-hmm. So anything else to add to the whole, like, ship, or like the whole, like, fact that they were selling it unregulated, or outside of that, or?
I honestly guess that it's basically like caffeine type thing. Okay. Like if it's in such a low dose that if you just have 1 or 2 in a day,
it's a good pick me up.
You're fine. But
if you drink 3 cases of Coke, you're going to die, or you're going to get diabetes. Or you're gonna have to go to the clinic or a hospital or something like that because you're not feeling too good afterward. Yeah, it's exactly like that. Or it's like, again, if you drink 3 cases of anything over the course of like a day or 2, like you're not going to have a good time. But that was just like my little like. All right, I like the story and like the tale of terror it's trying to tell, but how realistic is it that thing was there? But that's my actual thoughts for the story.
All right. So, onwards to my actual thoughts here. We have a quote. "Hello, sir, and welcome to Stop and Go," said the Indian cashier behind the counter. I'm just thinking to myself, that normally at a convenience store, they don't greet you happily and
really
whatnot. Like they might just say hey and stuff like that.
Well, I agree with you. On most cases, I actually have had, maybe it's because I'm kind of a regular at 2 of the places. But even then, like, when I get home from, like, work, like, late at night, I'll drop by, like, one of the, what are they called, K-spots or something like that, or Circle Ks. And, like, the guy at the cashier, like, counter, like, again, it's, like, 1 in the morning or so, he'll say hi and, like, rather pleasantly.
Yeah.
And, like, even the guy at the gas station that I regularly go to, he's like, "Hey, boss, how's it going?" Or, like,
Yeah.
Like they're usually pretty. They are usually like chipper.
Yeah. And
just for like at least either as a facade or like just to like as part of their job.
Yeah. And technically later on it does say that it's his regular pre-work routine.
Yeah, so the guy knows him.
Yeah. So that sort of makes sense. That if it's just some random guy that you might not see again, they probably don't really care as much.
At the very least, like you might get that like kind of that back and or that greeting when you get to the cash register. At the very least,
yeah. So, my next thought here is I have 2 quotes.
Okay.
So, he'd prefer Milky Way as a kid, but it never seemed to be less than $1 each, and Gregory Davis never liked spending more than 50 cents on candy unless it was Halloween. Then the next quote is from the cat when he's actually paying. That'll be $2.50, sir. The thick accent of the cashier seemed a little less jovial than when Greg came in, and the guard felt a little bit better about his day. He put down a $5, grabbed his bag, and told the older gentleman behind the counter to keep the change.
Yeah.
So he's paying double for the Snickers, but he'd much prefer the Milky Way, but oh no, that's $1.
Yeah, that's a little odd. Like, kind of contradicts his, like, personality, or his, like, kind of personality quirk.
Yeah.
Also, the guy's kind of just a douche. Like, kind of, like, it falls in, he falls in nicely with this kind of, like, story, because, like, yeah, you get the kind of shitty guy gets his comeuppance.
Well, but he's not that big of a douche at this point, because he just tipped the guy.
He did, but he felt like because the guy wasn't chipper or wasn't like, as enthusiastic when he like talked to him, he felt better about himself. Like, I don't know, just like, okay, that's kind of a dick move. But
yeah.
And then he like made it. It was almost like, okay, I guess there's like right there. There's also an inkling of like, okay, he's not such a bad guy because he did like tip him.
Yeah.
So you had a bad day. Yeah, it's just he's a very complicated individual. A little contrary to his own thoughts.
All right. So my next actual thought is something that I'm surprised you didn't really pick up on. This is when describing what's on the can.
Yeah.
The bony creature had a trumpet in one hand, and a hat had big white Comic Sans letters that spelled out the name Tony in all caps. And I'm just thinking to myself, Comic Sans, that's like the laziest.
It is. However, it's appropriate for this can because it's all supposed to be like silly and dumb in terms of design of the can. Not like it. But when Comic Sans is used appropriately, I have no qualms. But if it's used in a resume or in a fucking professional advertisement for real estate, say in a newspaper, words! Yeah. That's when I have issues with it. But I mean, like, or like when it's used for a restaurant logo, like a bar and grill, like not even like, and I mean like, even if, like, yeah, like if they're going for like kind of like the silly things and stuff like that, yeah, like, okay, I can get it. But like when you're going for like a kind of a run of the mill like greasy, not even greasy spoon, but like a bar and grill like kind of place, like why would you use Comic Sans? I'm looking at you, Sticky Fingers. Why? Why, Sticky Fingers? Why? Anyway, but no, for the can, like for the graphic design of this can, I kind of like it's supposed to be kind of silly and like humorous. So like yeah, like and obviously they didn't want to pay out for a custom cartoonish can types. So yeah, they just used Comic Sans.
Okay.
Not that I'm promoting or like what's the word? Not that I'm
supporting
the use of Comic Sans everywhere, but it does occasionally, guys, have its place. Yeah, that's my stance on it.
All right. I just thought I'd make a note of that.
Font responsibly, okay?
Alright. So, when I started reading this, I was initially just trying to think of where it was.
Yeah.
And then our protagonist, Greg, pays with a $5.
Yeah.
And
they mentioned soda.
Yeah.
Which is another hint that it's in America.
Yeah. But the $5, I looked it up, and it's just common slang pretty well anywhere. Like Australia, British, Canada, even a €5 note.
Yeah. It's yeah.
Yeah. So, but for whatever reason, my mind latched on to UK for some reason.
Okay.
But then, like, after reading the story and then looking up Stop and Go, which is
an actual place
in America.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
It was like, oh, okay, now it all makes sense.
Yeah. No, if it had been in Canada, it would have been a Go station or a Go stop.
Yeah. Well, it's just that I didn't know Stop and Go because it's only like one section of the US that has them.
Yeah.
So it was just
gotta write what you know sometimes.
Yeah.
Actually, most of the time, it's better to write what you know.
Yeah. So other than my own confusion that I made myself, it was fine.
Honestly, as soon as I heard soda, I was like, it's American.
Alright, so...
And likely, not the northern states, because Michigan, Milwaukee area, or is Milwaukee Milwaukee a city or a state? It's Minnesota. I keep thinking of Minnesota, Michigan, all those provinces, those states generally use pop rather than soda. But then you start bleeding into the soda slang or the term soda.
Yeah. So that's most of my actual thoughts.
Gotcha. Okay. Then I guess we'll go into final thoughts. The story is very well described and flavorful with its words. It's very it definitely paints a good mind picture while you're reading the story. I like the style of the narration, and the horror it invokes worked really well on me, while also making it kind of having some fun with it. It felt like a Twilight Zone episode, like that kind of plot line, or those kind of plots or mysteries that they add in for Twilight Zone, or those kind of shows. Outside of some minor grammar issues, which are really, really few and far between, as we discovered, the writing is very tight. So, yeah, I recommend the story. It was a good time. Good job, Mikey.
I'm also going to give it a recommendation because it was interesting. It's almost like if somebody took what if Red Bull gave you wings?
But you couldn't control it. Icarus into the sun.
But then it's oh man, that one can of Red Bull, he gave me wings. I should buy 3 cases of it.
And then you became a seraphim and ascended into the sky, not of your own free will. You just have just wings bursting out of every part of your body. Oh God. God, I get you. It's basically an overdose story. This is actually basically an overdose story.
Yeah.
This is if you wanted to add a social commentary to it, it's basically an analog for overdosing on something, on a good thing.
Yeah.
Which again kind of goes in with the whole Twilight Zone style of writing or of narration, such because they usually have some kind of a message or a moral to their stories.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, I actually discovered this one. This wasn't one that was like sent to us, or like I was I was perusing Twitter, and I follow a couple of these, like a couple of horror writers. The Lollyhead is one of them, and he had announced like a couple of weeks ago that he had done the story, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna take a look at it, and we'll highlight it on the show.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, and the protagonist's greed, like I don't see how it would have panned out, because the first one was an accident.
Yeah, exactly. Like, again, I was thinking like he was going to try and do this and then just actually die because it was a fluke.
Yeah,
like it's a but like, you know that like as soon as they go that route, you're like, oh, this is going to be a doom story because the character is getting too greedy for their own good.
Yeah, and plus. As soon as the second or third one occurred, he would be investigated for fraud.
Exactly, right? Like, sir, how have you survived like 4 like major crashes, like unharmed? It's like, have you been doping up on bone juice, sir? You're gonna get filed up by the USDA and the FBI, possibly the CIA. Yeah, like it wouldn't fly.
No,
but. Again, it's the kind of like the greed is kind of overtaking logic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I mean, when you suddenly have 200,000 just from, and you're not feeling bad, you just have a slight bruise,
some bruising and like a cut on your head, and that's about it. Like, yeah. And then is he planning on like walking out into like traffic, like not even like with a car, just walking out there? And then just like, this is gonna be like Saints Row, the second or whatever, where you can just like jump into traffic and just like see how far your character could like ragdoll, and just like rack up the money from like insurance.
Yeah,
like that's basically what I kind of envisioned like what was gonna happen, except for like the silliness. But like that's what came to mind. God, people are stupid.
And that's pretty well it.
All right. So, pretty positive recommendations. Mm-hmm. So, if you like what you heard, or if you didn't, leave us a comment in the comment section below where this gets posted, whether it's on Kiwi6, Facebook, YouTube, or Tumblr. I just realized, like, or if you didn't, if you somehow, like, hate, like, our recommendation of the story, like, I just realized how silly that sounded there. Or you can also get a hold of us on Twitter. I'm at Review Cultist. Mikey is at the E stands for evil. You can also send us emails at aldenterigamortis@gmail.com. That's aldenterigamortis@gmail.com, where you can also leave us suggestions for other creepypastas you'd like us to discuss on the show. If you'd like to help support the show, you can go to Patreon. Look up Al Dente Rigamortis and select the backer tier you'd like to support us at. We have $2 and $5 tier with extra episodes, extra content, special episodes, early access. Yeah, we got that stuff for you. And for our patrons that are already helping support the show, thank you immensely. You're helping keep those hosting bills at bay, and we very much appreciate that. And to our listeners of the show, and the authors of these stories, thank you immensely. Because seriously, guys, without your listenership, or without your creativity, and your story writing, we really wouldn't have a show. So thank you immensely. Until next time, I've been your host, Review Cultist.
And I'm Mikey. The E stands for evil.
And this has been Al Dente Rigamortis. Drink up, sleep well.
It's about this title.
Yeah.
It's one letter away from being a porno.
boner juice. It's actually... Oh God, that's the sequel. It just when Bone Juice just gets rebranded as a Viagra drink. Oh God, why? All right, Christ.